Happy Thursday. It's a beautiful afternoon here in Arizona. Just after 2:30. We are going to dive into some space shooter. We're building a space shooter prototype for my class. I'm going to turn it into a tutorial series for my students here. Got some leftover stuff from Advent of Code this morning on the screen. Really fun puzzle this morning. Would recommend. Took me longer than I would a bit of time to finish, but it's fun. It's fun. Good stuff. Let's get our Space Raiders open here. Yeah. Space Raiders, have a web browser here just in case I need it. Pull up my notes real quick. Do I have that open on another tab? I do. There's my Space Raider notes just in case I need it later. All right. So I was gonna go through. Do I have? Let's go to my scripts here. Yeah. I wanted to go through and I want to make all of these. I had an idea to make my life a little bit more manageable. I wanted to make all of these public, private set. Wanted to do this to all of them. I think this is just a good practice that we should be doing. And our default speed should be, well, now it's gonna be upset with me. I'm gonna have to go fix all of my prefabs. Speed 5. Get private set. We're gonna do this. I'm gonna bring my, yeah, I think this is just a good practice. And I want my students to practice good practices, so I'm gonna go ahead and update all this and see how painful or nice it is. But this will force me to write intelligent setters outside of here. Let's get private set. Dota, yeah, I've been doing all of them. I've done all of them so far this year, and I've written some guides for days 1 through 14. I had my students doing them. That's the one with trees. Yeah, so I actually I finished today's was I've done all of them so far. And over on my YouTube channel, I've put together guides. I haven't finished. I did a guide for days 1 through 14. I'm calling them my beginner's guides for days 1 through through 14. What was day 8? Day 8 was Treetop Treehouse. Gotcha. Yeah, this one, no, not too bad. These are fun little puzzles. Great way to practice. I wouldn't consider them software engineering level tasks, but a great way to practice coding. Keep this chat over here. Leveling up and building computational and algorithmic thinking, which is a skill that is just really good to develop. Wish I could make this like transparent. Yeah. In all my guides I talk about how to write tests for them to maintain them and keep your life manageable, right? Give yourself confidence that your code is gonna do what you want it to do and be sane. Didn't do that for all of the days after day 14, but did do it prior to that. Nice. Yeah, my videos, that's what I suggest doing. If you don't have test-driven development's good in general. What is this a real error? It is. Look at that. So this is telling me that I need to add in a static. Yeah, I'm gonna add in a static constructor kind of. It's more of a factory method. Public static player controller. And get a copy of game controller GC. Suppose I could have just a set method, so pc.gameController equals GC. Let's see, what am I doing here? Yeah, we'll do a yeah, our game controller kind of wants to be able to access it. I only want to be able to set the game controller right at instantiation. So we're gonna move this into our player controller. It's gonna be our template. And then this will be GC. And then we will return PC. And then we can come back over here and we do player controller dot instantiate, maybe even call it spawn. Template like that. Yeah, I like that better. I'm curious. Still having a. There's no argument. Oh, this needs to take in this. Yeah, we only want to be able to set the game controller. The game controller really should be a singleton. That's okay. Worked out all right, I think. Let this load up. All right. All those things did get kind of wonky here. The min and max got arrest. Laser should be that. And then our spawn points should be here. The game controller can only get set on spawn, which is good. Our min, yeah, I botched that a little bit. Kind of wanted to make it part of the bounds though. Min x negative 2.5 to 2.5, and y was, I think, negative 5 to 5. Let's take a look here. Give it a shot, give it a go, see how we do. Yeah, kind of like being able to fly all the way to the front, a little bit off the edge there. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Leave that alone. Let's update our other elements to follow our best practices. I'm happy with that. Close that out. Okay. Game controller to Major Tom. That field, serialized field. Anyway, Doter, if you're still there, how have things been going for you? Are you? I think you said you made it to. You're on break now. Is that true? Field. Get private set. And when we start up, we spawn a player. Let's see if that has any compilation issues. Probably have to reset those things. Yeah, player template. Spawn point. And those are fine. And still fly around, shoot our lasers. Beautiful. Let's keep going. Get our asteroid spawner here. Field. Serialized field. Get private set. Yeah. This is how I like it. Nice and encapsulated. A little bit of a chore since I didn't do this from the get-go, but we're getting there. We are getting there. Those ones don't need to serialize. Those are just helpers. And this one, oh, need to make this one a get. Ah, this will be nice because I'll be able to have several asteroids. I can make an asteroid list of templates rather than just one. All right, so we have an asteroid spawner. Let's go see how that worked. All right. Asteroid spawner here. Yeah, our min speed 0, 0. Going downward, so we were saying -2 to -3, I think. Min spawn point here, and our max spawn point. What's interesting is some of them just were happy to go along. I'm not entirely sure. Make sure we're still spawning stuff in here. Looks good. Yeah. Okay. All of our fields. Our on-screen controller, our asteroid controller just has a couple. Field, serialize field, get private set, field, serialize field, get private set, and our speed. Get private set. Beautiful. I actually really like this because we can edit it in the editor. Things can't touch it, and I didn't have to create a bunch of extra stuff. I'm pretty happy with that. Laser controller, same thing. Field, serialize, oops, serialize field. Get private set. All right. Is that the last change? Let's see. Asteroid spawner. Let's see what's going on here. Just an advertisement. Format. Uh-oh. Aha. Let's check it out. See? Catches our bad practice for us right here. So we want a way, we need to be able to instantiate our asteroids. And so our asteroid controller, I'm gonna add that in here. So we're adding a static, public static asteroid controller spawn. And this is gonna take in an asteroid controller template, and then we want to be able to set our rotation speed and speed. So float rotation speed, float speed. That's interesting. All right, and so this will be asteroid controller.spawn template. And we need to figure out these things first. So this will be float. We can do that. Spawn, rotation speed, and speed. This needs to be a vector 2. There we go. And in our spawn here, this is a vector 2 speed. And so we're gonna instantiate template. Asteroid controller, new asteroid dot rotation speed, new asteroid dot speed equals speed, and then we return a new asteroid like that. Yes. Rename that with the lowercase r and speed. And I'll do the same thing here. Following best practices. Although they may not be Unity best practices, I think they are good generic programming practices. All right, so a little bit of refactoring here to clean up and hide and encapsulate these guys. So one of the what are they? Principles of object-oriented programming is encapsulation. So we're encapsulating these values. Yeah, so the asteroid is in charge of setting its own values. And so what's nice here is we could do a thing, say, well, the speed has to be, you know, greater than a 0 or something along those lines. So we can add in some checks to make sure that our asteroids actually happen to fall in a nice range of speeds. Just test it here, make sure I didn't break anything. And we've got some asteroids. Okay. All right. Haven't done anything new, just some refactoring here. And I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. Get rid of this. I was going through formatting and trimming my white space. Trim, format. Okay. All right, so what I wanted to do next, what I started doing last time, is when the player spawns in, I want to give the player a... They're gonna flicker. If they have a damage boost, they flicker. So we're gonna handle damage boost here. And we're gonna say... I think there's like a set visible, right? It's not whether it's on or it's active, but it's whether or not it's visible. So I think I can turn its visibility on and off. So if, and we're gonna do this an oscillation thing here to do it. All right, so we're gonna try and say like sign of the current time should oscillate between like -1 and 1. I'm pretty sure. Let's check that out. So we'll do if damage boost is greater than 0. Right, so if it's greater than 0, we're going to do some stuff. And we're either going to turn ourselves on or off. And if damage boost isn't greater than 0, that means we don't have damage boost anymore. And so we should toggle ourselves to be visible. So this game object up. That interesting. I wanna adjust the visibility. Hidden. Core. Happy Thursday, my friend. It's afternoon for me. But just about 3 o'clock. We are doing a space shooter here, building out a prototype for my students, so that I can understand how I want to structure the assignment for them, and I'm going to build sort of a how-to video to do some of the like key points, and then keep it pretty open-ended for them. Thank you. It's space shooter is one of my favorite little projects to do. Done it a couple times, but this time I'm gonna get it right. I did it once in Unity 2 years ago, and it wasn't that great. I had just started learning Unity, so the school I was working at, 3 years ago, might have been 3 years ago. The school I was working at, I was teaching a Unity class, and I put together a thing, and it was the first time I'd ever used, not the first time, but essentially the first time I'd ever used Unity. So I want to get this thing to flicker. And so I actually think I want to take the sprite render and turn it on and off. Although, let's just see, Unity, hide object without disabling. Not setting active to false. Renderer, okay. So I can do a renderer. There's no render attached to the object, then you can be 100% certain that there is. Okay, so we're gonna take the renderer and turn it on and off. That's the idea. So if we don't have damage boost, we're gonna take our renderer and make sure that it is enabled. So this would be our this.get component. Yeah, so we'll do get component renderer dot enabled equals true. Okay. Otherwise, we sort of are gonna flicker on and off. All right. So the way I'm thinking about doing this is doing sign of time.time. So this should oscillate between 1 and -1. Is that right? And the idea is if it's positive, I'll be on. If it's negative, I'll be off. So I'll do a bool here, or let's do a debug.log just to make sure I'm not crazy. Should alternate between 1 and -1. And then I got to multiply it by like a speed, like how fast I want to turn on. Cool. Yeah, feel free to lurk. You're always welcome to lurk. And I'm not the greatest programmer, so I always love to get feedback. Yeah, so multiply by the speed at which we want it to flash. So if I multiply by 100, for example, I need to multiply my time by 100, because that would say, let's try 10. 100 feels too much. But yeah, Core, it's so nice to see you. I hope things have been going well for you. Yeah, look, we go between positive and negative. And I think what this is saying is it will flash 10 times a second. But I'm not 100% sure. So we're going to do a thing here that will say if mathf.sign time.time times 100, or sorry, times 10 is greater than 0, we'll disable. Else, we will enable. All right, so this number this oscillates between 0 and 1. And so this should cause a little flickering effect when we have damage boost. And of course, I could simplify these if statements a little bit. So the logic there is a little... Yeah, so we get a little flicker until the damage boost comes off. So when we die, give it a second, then we respawn with the damage boost on. Yeah. Let's go twice as fast. I'm not 100% sure what the what this 20 represents. It represents like it exaggerates how fast it's gonna oscillate. So it scales. It increases the frequency, but I don't know how to. I'd have to do some little math to figure out exactly how much it's scaling it by. I like that. That worked out really nicely. Those should be turning into small asteroids. I broke something here. So these will turn into small asteroids when they get shot. There we go. So we've got a laser. Sweet. And if we die, gives us a second, and then we respawn. Sweet. Okay, I'm happy with that. Wasn't too bad. Something we could do here is we could write a boolean that says bool is visible is equal to damage boost less than or equal to 0. All right, so if the damage boost is less than or equal, that means we're visible. And it could be nice to have a thing says as damage boost. All right, so add in a little helper here that tells us if we have a damage boost. Public bool has damage boost. All right, so this is just going to be a thing that says if our damage boost is greater than 0, we have a damage boost. All right, so just for logical reason, we say we're visible if we don't have damage boosts, or this. All right, so we can kind of simplify it a little bit here. Get rid of this thing, and then so this will be a fun little explanation to my students, like, hey, we can simplify this just to a boolean. Look how much more concise we can get this, and we're going to set ourselves to be visible in this way. All right, so we'll take this code here and refactor it to this nice little thing here using some boolean logic, and let's go test out, see if we've done it. And I can make them write a unit test for this one. Ooh, this will be perfect. Be a nice little. Oh yeah. Boom. All right, sweet. Okay, so public bool is visible. Is visible. Is this. All right, and then down here, we do is visible. Not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah, I'll make them write a little unit test for that. See, Core said good evening. Interesting. Core said good evening and then said that getting some breakfast. I'm interested in that. So, are you having breakfast for dinner, Core? All right, let's continue here. Let us add in, I think we should add in an enemy ship next. So we'll take this enemy ship. Player left. Oh, we have like these lean graphics. Ooh, I like that. Let's add in, let's make it so our ship leans when we go left and when we go right. That's neat. All right, cool. I'm gonna do that. We have a lean left, a ship lean left, a ship lean right. Ship lean left. Ship lean right. All right, so our ship leans when it's moving to exaggerate it a little bit. That's cool. That's cool. All right, so in our ship here, oh, interesting. We want to open up the prefab. We're going to add in, we are going to add to our player controller a lean left and a lean right sprite. I think that's what they'll be. I wish this was called ship controller. I wish I had called it ship controller. But yeah, we're gonna get in. Gonna add some new ones. Field, serialize field. Public sprite. We'll see if that's right. Sprite, lean left. Get private set. Public sprite, lean right. Get private set. See if that's right. Find out. If it's not, I'll look it up. Oh, and I gotta serialize this field as well. Lean left. Hey, it looks like I got it right. Okay, so the idea is if our velocity, if our x velocity is 0, we are our normal sprite. Otherwise, we update our sprite there. All right, so this is going to be in our handle movement. Or should it be in move ship? I think it's going to be in handle movement. Handle movement. So we're going to handle movement. And we're going to say if velocity dot x is less than 0, else if the velocity is greater than 0, else we have to go back to our original sprite. So what we can do is rather than having a, we'll have another field here. Public sprite forward like that. Okay. And forward, we can make it so we get that forward sprite, or we can attach it. Right, so there's a couple things we can do. I'm just gonna attach it. But what you could do is you'd say, hey, get my, when I first start up, my sprite render, go get the default thing in your sprite render. But we will just add that in there. Ship lane left, ship lane right. All right, so if our velocity is less than 0, sprite, or get component, sprite, or renderer, dot sprite, I think it's a sprite renderer, dot sprite, it's equal to, less than 0, I think that means we're going left, lean left, lean right, otherwise forward. All right, so now our ship should lean left and lean right, hopefully when we press left and right. Let's take a look. At least that's the plan. Yeah. Got a nice little lean there. Sweet. Awesome. Not too bad. And I'm gonna actually put that in a private void. Something like sprite, handle sprite. So this is gonna change, you know, it's nice to break this down so that you can potentially write some tests, right? So I can tell my students to write tests in this way. And then we just say, okay, well, we handle sprite. These are all the things that we need to do during our update. We got to make handle movement, handle fire. Handle movement might be the wrong name. I think this might be a better name. Handle input. But it's handle movement input. I don't know. We'll leave it alone. Handle movement, handle fire. Maybe it should be called update sprite. Yeah. Okay. So it lets us change the way we're looking when we're flying around there. All right, let's get an enemy ship in here. And the enemy is going to shoot lasers back at us. Yeah. Dangerous. Assets. Laser red shot. I don't know what that means, but maybe that's when it hits you. Oh, it like maybe make it. Ooh, we can make it make a particle effect type thing. Oh, we want the laser, and then we also want the enemy ship in here. Okay. So the enemy ship is interesting. Because we want to think about, well, how do we want our enemy ships to sort of float around and fly around in our environment, right? It's a question we need to think about. So there's a couple thoughts. We could have it sort of zig back and forth. So again, oscillate. Could use some kind of sign thing to have it oscillate left and right as it comes down towards us. We could also set it up so that we have like different waypoints in on our screen, and the waypoints we can define which waypoint an enemy sort of like has a pattern where they fly between different waypoints. And I think that might be pretty fun to do. So the enemy comes out and it's not like it just flies straight down at you. It sort of hangs out and will attempt to, you know, stay on the screen until you destroy it. Ooh, kind of like that. Kind of like that. Yeah, let's try. Let's trade that. Let's see if we can get an enemy ship on the screen, and it will oscillate. It's not going to oscillate, but it's going to have 2 waypoints. So let's create a new thing here. Part of our game controller. It's going to be called waypoint, and then we'll just name some waypoints. Waypoint A. Okay. And B. And go to our scene controller here. Make sure that's in 0. Yeah, so we have 2 waypoints to start out. Waypoint A is going to be over here. And waypoint B is going to be at the same Y. So let's put this at position 3.5. -2. And then B will be sort of the inverse. It'll be 2, 3.5. All right. So they're sort of on opposite sides here. And so our enemy ship will just sort of move back and forth between those 2. All right, so that's how we're going to set up. We're having our enemy ship has waypoints that it just sort of cycles between. It's going to pick the one it's going to, and it's going to have a speed at which it moves towards it. And when it gets to that waypoint, it turns around and goes towards the other, goes back to the other waypoint. And all the while, it's going to be firing a laser at some rate. Okay. So let's put in an enemy ship here. We'll call this enemy ship. And we'll add a controller, enemy ship. Add a script to it. It's going to be enemy controller, enemy ship controller. Okay. I'm gonna put in my script and then I'll open it up. All right, so this thing is gonna have a list of waypoints that it moves between. All right, so it's gonna have a list of waypoints. So it's gonna have a field, serialized field, public list of I'm calling them waypoints, but they're transforms. All right. Waypoint. All right, and by default, it's just going to be an empty list. So then what do we do if it's empty? I don't know. We'll have to figure that one out. But yeah, the idea here is that our enemies, our enemy ship, we're gonna give it some waypoint. All right. So, for example, we have this, and we just say, okay, well, we're gonna add in 2. And it goes between waypoint A and B, and then it needs a speed. Field, serialized field, public. What do we got here? Public, float, speed. So this is like the rate it's going to move between those. Get private set. And we'll give it a speed of 5 to start. And then we can play around with that number. So the idea is that we also we need one more public int next waypoint. This is going to be the index of the waypoint that it's going to next. And this should start at 0. And the idea is when we've reached that waypoint, we increase that and then go to the next one, and we sort of keep it in bounds. We keep it in bounds. field, serialized field. And start update. We need to sort of pick where we want this thing to go. Where do we want it to go? So like, what is its velocity? All right, so just like we did with the other ones, we have field, serialized field, public vector 2, velocity. Right, it's that. And really this velocity is based on your current position in your next waypoint. So we could actually have this whole thing, rather than being a field like this, we write a method that tells us the velocity. But it's kind of nice to have this. So this is a good opportunity actually to do this. Velocity is a calculated value. For now, I'll leave it like this. But velocity is going to be a calculated value based on where it's going, so it's not serialized. It'd be nice to see it though. Field is not a valid attribute. That's fine. We'll leave it alone. We'll make it work. All right. So the idea is we have a velocity, and every time we update, we're gonna move ourselves towards that. So we've been using this sort of code repeatedly. So my students, yeah. So we move our ship like this, but in addition to moving, we need to check to see, check for waypoints. We have to sort of figure out how close are we to that waypoint. All right, so we move our ship, move ship, check waypoint. All right. Let's say private void check waypoint. We basically check our position compared to our current waypoint. Yeah, so we're gonna say vector to target is equal to our waypoints next waypoint dot position. So it's going to tell us where we're trying to go. And I feel like there's a check that we can do. Built in. There has to be. Unity get distance between two objects. Let's see what it says. Vector 2 dot distance. There we go. So then we'll do vector 2 dot distance between our target and this dot transform dot position. Float distance. And we just check, see if we're close enough, we move on to the next waypoint. If distance is less than, usually you have a variable called epsilon. We'll say if we're within 0.1, then we're gonna do next waypoint is equal to next waypoint plus 1. Mod waypoints dot count. All right, so that's just going to cycle between our waypoints, and now essentially all that's left to do is our velocity. I think it's just like we subtract our target. It's either target minus this dot transform dot position, or this dot transform dot position minus. It's ambiguous. I'd say this thing needs to. Oh, I need to tell this that it's a vector too. Yeah. Think that's all we really need here. It's a good opportunity to teach about Git, in my mind. Let's see. Let's see how we do. So our enemy ship should sort of start by moving towards waypoint A. All right. Its speed is a little bit crazy. And it sort of slows down as it's getting close, which is which makes sense. Yeah, it actually makes sense. Because it's saying I think this is saying that's kind of cool. That was unintended, but I think I want to leave it. I wanted it to be moving at a consistent rate. So what I could do to keep it to make it a consistent rate would be to take this vector and then you sort of set the values to -1, 1, and so it sort of will like normalize it, right? Which is probably what that's sort of what I meant to do. But it's actually giving us like the angle we need to go out, and then we need to normalize the biggest one to, yeah, that's fascinating. Kind of why I wanted to be able to display it here. We can see if we can do this like public vector to v, and what we'll do is every time this changes, we'll do v equals, so we can actually see what our velocity is, just so my brain can understand it, because it's basically the closer you are, really I need like a normalize. There's probably a normalize method I can get, but yeah, if I were to look at my enemy ship, yeah. Smab, you gonna see me not solving puzzles? How are you doing? I hope you've either gotten some sleep or are fixing to get some sleep. I hope. It's nice to see you in the afternoon. Yeah, that was an interesting side effect. Not what I intended. There should be a normalize, v.normalize. I think that's really what I want. Oh, it actually normalizes it, and then I can return v. We're working on prototyping a space shooter for my students, thinking about like how I can get them to do it in my Unity class next term. There we go. Now that's what I wanted. It needs to normalize it. And then if I were to move my B, it sort of moves between them. So we're sort of we're creating like an AI, quote unquote AI enemy, moves between points on the screen. So our enemy ship has a list of waypoints, and it's going to traverse that sort of path. And that worked out pretty nice. That enemy is way too fast, though. Let's see if 3 is better. Cool. All right. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. Really, I don't need to do that. Should do. Cool. Yeah, Unity. If you want to make games, Unity's a great choice. As long as you don't mind proprietary software. It has its quirks. Also, so I will say, I don't know if you've watched any of them. The one thing that drives me a little bit mad about Unity, and it's actually the reason it took me so long to start doing C#. I didn't like C# because I'd only seen it in Unity. Is Unity just encourages lots and lots of bad practices. Yeah, there's so many bad practices. Yeah, it's C#8, and it's not even really C#8. It's C#. It's like a C#8 missing like certain things. So like record types don't work right. You can't use, yeah. So it's a little bit painful. And then Unity, if you're working with other people's Unity code, the whole community sort of has nasty, bad habits that are not good. The language encourages, not the language, the tool encourages you to have like public variable public fields rather than getters and setters and stuff like that. It drives me a little bit nuts, just to work with. But when I'm working on my own, anyway, I'm rambling here. Some nice things about it. There's some nice things about it. That puzzle today was fun. I enjoyed the puzzle this morning. What are we doing? What is my brain trying to do here? We have or enemy. We're gonna set up so our enemy has a firing rate. It's gonna shoot lasers. Formal Goose. It's nice to see you again. No idea what I'm doing, but hey. Yeah, hey. I want to make my enemy ship fire a laser every now and then. I was really happy with today's puzzle. It was super fun. My approach, I don't think it would be that hard to generalize it. So right now it is my puzzle approach from this morning will only work. It'll work with dumb errors drive will make you mad. My solution, I think, will work with any size input as long as it's following that specific shape, or it'd be very easy to modify that shape. So if I knew that I had 40 by 40 faces, as long as it was in that configuration, it could do it. I think there'd be a really fun exercise of figuring out how given some input, solve how to fold the cube in the different ways. But I think doing them all by manual, hand by hand, would be nightmare. Yeah, we're gonna make it so this enemy ship has a laser, and the laser is gonna go down. Yeah, the shape is key. Public. What did I do in my player controller? Yeah, I looked at Reddit a bit. Everyone had the same topology. From what I think someone said they confirmed from Topaz that the topology was the same for everyone. Laser here, and we kind of need to make an enemy laser. enemy. So I'm kind of annoyed here because I have laser controller, but I really want an enemy laser controller. But it should work essentially the same. But I need to be able to detect whether or not it hurts players. I'm just gonna call it an enemy laser. I hate that. Enemy laser. Laser. Alright, and its default speed will be -5. Okay. Hate the duplicate code here. And our enemy ship will have a fire rate. Fire rate. And its fire rate will be every 2 seconds. We'll have a public float last fire. Get private set. And we'll make it so that this last fire, when we boot up on start, or is it just start? See, things like this drive me crazy. You have like these event methods that are magic, they're not virtual, they're done using bytecode stuff. It's not even done using reflection at the end of the day. Last fire equals time.time. Okay. And let us so our enemy ship will create an enemy laser like this. Green laser. This will be enemy laser. And this is enemy laser. It needs to have a rigid body and a box collider. And the box collider should... a rigid body needs to be kinetic. Or kinematic, not kinetic. This is the laser that we're gonna fire. When in fact, I want this to be a prefab. So it's not that we want to fire that one, it's that this should be... Oh. I wanna... That's... Why can't I drag that down there? Like on move, what's going on here? Oh, I drag it from over here. Duh. My brain was losing it there for a moment. All right, so we're actually gonna do the prefab. So if I delete that, should still have it. All right, so that's gonna be going down. And then in our player, we check if we get hit by, our enemy laser knows how to destroy players, right? So our enemy laser, because that's what we did with our asteroid. Or we did it in our player controller. Yeah. So if it is an asteroid, or really we want it, we need to have some sort of thing that denotes that it is a something that damages a player. So really, yeah, I'm gonna create a new on our laser here. We need a new script that is just sort of like tells us whether or not it hurts players. Player. What's a good name for something that damages? It's like an asteroid when an asteroid hits a player, it hurts the player, and when a laser hits a player, it hurts a player. And if the player crashes into a ship, it'll hurt a player. So I'm trying to think of like what would the generic thing be called that can damage a player. Impactor. Ah, I like that. Player impactor. Yeah, so this is just a script that doesn't really have anything. We might have a damage amount associated with it at some point. Player impactor is yeah, so yeah, so it's like it's attached to thing. It sort of tags things as being something that can damage a player. Yeah, impactor seems okay. I'm gonna go with impactor for now, but now we need to add it to our asteroids. Yeah. So anything that can damage a player, we're gonna attach it to it. So we've added it to our player impactor. So the idea now is in our player controller, when we detect a collision, we detect whether or not it's a player impactor as impactor. So if we get hit by the enemy laser, it destroys us. And the cool thing is I actually don't need this enemy laser class now. I can just do a regular laser. I'm actually gonna break a bunch of stuff by deleting this. But our enemy laser is just gonna be a regular laser, but it's going down and it has the player impactor. Ooh, I kind of like that. I kind of like that idea too. So you can have an impactor and it has like a positive or negative amount of damage it does. That's a cool idea. Remove this, and then we're gonna add in a laser controller here, and the enemy laser is gonna go -5. Okay. And just to test it out, put a laser in here. Put a couple. Oh, and it also has like it needs to be clean up, so. Oh, I have damage boost when the thing starts there. What did we call it? On screen controller. So it also, if it goes off the screen, it'll disappear. So that's also there. Let's make our yeah, so one of the, it's a good idea. I like it. I will probably do that. I like that idea. All right, let's get rid of those. We're gonna give our enemy ship. No, please backseat code. That's why I like streaming. I like streaming. It's like I'm not a great Unity coder. I think I'm a pretty good like programmer. I have a lot of background. I'm not a great game developer, and I'm not amazing at Unity. And so, you know, hearing other people's ideas is always nice. My goal here, so one thing to keep in mind is I want to try and keep this as simple as possible. So the students who will be recreating this will be not that this will be like their first time using Unity. Some of them will have had a semester of C#. Some of them will have had maybe a year or two of programming. So but my goal here is to keep it relatively simple and teach Unity, not necessarily teach programming in general. I should try and put them in there. The challenge with doing that So I'm all about best practices. The challenge with best practices is not necessarily with Unity is using interfaces in Unity kind of becomes this weird challenge. Maybe not, right? So you're right. Doing it with interfaces is probably a really good idea. And I have like repeated code happening. So it'd be a good opportunity. So one of the things is like teaching those things is, well, you present this program. It's like, oh, we have like this copy pasted code in various places. How can we refactor this now to use an interface to simplify it and make our lives better? So that's an idea as well, is demonstrating, so for example, I have this movement code in a couple places right now. I should probably have a class that manages it. Yeah, right. So I agree with that. I need to move this real quick from Unity. So it comes down to like how bogged down do we want to get, right? So it's always a question when you're teaching of like, how bogged down do we want to get? How much time do we have to work on this thing? What are the goals? Like, what are we trying to teach? Are we trying to teach Unity, best practices? How do you approach it all in one without being confusing? So, I'm going to have students, this will be the first time some of my students have seen, attributes. Some of my students will be the first time they've seen properties. So how much do I want to give all of them on this project, right? So the question is like, well, maybe this is why I wanted to prototype it. Is this going to be my first project, my second project, my third project? This is middle school, 11 through 14. Mostly 11, 12, 13, and I think one 14-year-old is going to be in the class. So young. So sometimes it can be hard, but I'm definitely going to make them use this, serialized field, that, because Unity programs, so in the United States it's called middle school. So it's like you have elementary, middle school, and then upper school or high school. All right. Player impactor. Gotcha. But yeah, so what it does to a player should probably be in the impactor, right? So there should be a method inside of the impactor that says like on collide, like on hit player, and then the player, rather than just destroying it. So right now the code is just saying, oh, when the player gets hit, the player gets destroyed. So when you say what are the requirements, you mean like to get hired as a teacher, what do I have to do? It's hard if you're working. So I have struggled to get into public schools because the requirements to teach a public school requires me to have like a, it's sort of really challenging to get into a public school. It's different from state to state. Typically you need some kind of state certification, but to get that certification you have to already have been hired by the school, so you can't just go get it. So I've struggled to get hired in public school. So I'm actually working for an independent school right now. I actually have a couple jobs where I work for a few independent schools, and I also do private tutoring and run my own program during the summer. All right, let's make sure my player impactor still works for my, yep, that still works. Yeah, I've always wanted to teach computer science, but ran into trouble getting in there, so I've sort of forged my own path to make it a reality. My enemy ship is gonna fire a laser. It has this fire rate here. Move ship, check waypoint, and then we're gonna add in here private void handle fire. And we're gonna handheld handle fire. This is going to take in. I should really come through here and refactor some of these to like accept arguments or something. My enemy ship needs to have in sort of create an empty, and it's gonna be like fire spawn. So this is gonna tell us my ship here. Vivex, hey, thanks for popping in. We are working on a space shooter for my students. I will say, Smab, I make a lot less money now as a teacher than I did as a software engineer. I will say that. But I love teaching so much. I didn't dislike. It's like awesome, Vivex. Yeah, so hang out. We're putting together a prototype. I'm hoping to turn this. I'm building out this thing here to try and figure out how to turn it into a class project. So I'm building a prototype to understand what I need to do to turn it into a class project. So we got a little bit of a space shooter here. All right, so then now this is gonna have form fire spawn point. And this will be a field. But yeah, thanks for coming in and hanging out. I like Unity. There's some things about it that I find finicky. I really have fallen in love with C#. And so it gives me an excuse to do that. And more than anything, my students want to use it. I've had tons and tons of requests. Can you do a Unity class? Can you do a Unity class? So I taught a C# class and said, all right, well, if you want to do Unity, you have to take my C# class first. Feel free to do it. I will try to pay attention. Try not to get too distracted, but yeah. Well, that's sort of like me. I try and keep myself accountable by telling people I'm going to do a thing. It turns out that there's a psychological thing though, where you get. I read a paper. I'll see if I can find the paper. But there's a psychological component of getting the same satisfaction. You get a similar satisfaction talking about doing something as you do actually doing it. So sometimes talking about doing something, you get a similar satisfaction that leads you to like not actually doing it. It is a fascinating read. Cool. I've never tried to make a VR game, but I have a colleague. My best friend does VR. He has a VR class at the school he works at, which I think is super cool. All right, so we handle fire. I want to say if, so it's sort of the same thing we did before. If our last fire plus, hang on, time, this is the time it currently is, plus fire rate, no, that's not right. If the time is greater than the last time we fired, plus our fire rate, we should fire another laser. All right, so if the time is greater than... Yeah, so if the time is greater than the last time I fired, I'm gonna go ahead and spawn a laser. All right, so then I'm gonna do instantiate laser, and I should call this laser template. Laser template. Laser. And then we're gonna put it at laser dot transform dot position is equal to our fire spawn point. Fire spawn point dot position. All right, so our ship should start firing. Let's see. That is true. I did manage to get one of my goals done so far, which was getting the hands working nicely with physics. So, like in 3D, you have like hand nodes, and you get them moving around based on where they are. That's kind of cool. That's cool. So you made it so if you try and reach through a wall in the game, the hands stop against that object. Oh. My enemy ship broke because I renamed it to. This is something that's like really annoying about Unity, because laser template is I renamed the variable which caused this to break. Yeah. So I have a Discord. If you look in. If you want to join the Discord and send it to me there, that'd be great. So I think, I don't know a lot about Twitch, but I've added it in the description of like my About Me section. You should be able to hop in and send it to me there. Thank you, Formal Goose. Ooh. The Doom Laser. And then our last fire is equal to now. had a Doom Laser. Beautiful, thank you. Thank you, I'll check it out. I appreciate it. This is cool. Let me see if I can... How do I get... Here, this is what I'll do. Downloads. That's cool. That's really, really cool. How long did that take you to do? That does seem tricky. Oh, that's really cool. Now I want to do VR stuff. Really, really neat. Nice work. That's really cool. That's really, really cool. There's not enough of me. That's a problem I have, is there's not enough of me and there's not enough time, and all the things I want to do, I can't get them all done because I get defeated by time regularly. But yeah, this guy's shooting lasers. And I get hit. Okay. Alright, I can get hit by it. Now I gotta make it so I can destroy the enemy. Alright, so enemy ship. Let's add in a rigid body, as well as a polygon collider. Ooh, that one worked out well. Sometimes the polygon colliders don't come out great. That one worked out really nice. And we want to make this kinematic, so it isn't affected by gravity. Yeah. So that's physics. Working with physics is a challenge. Lots of games have little physics bugs and physics issues in them. And I always tell people, well, I try to be forgiving with physics issues because typically you're dealing with the physics engine of something like Unreal or Unity where you don't have a whole lot of control. It's just a matter of like trying to make it work. All right, so our enemy ship is a destructible. So the idea here is our asteroids have this logic to be destroyed, but really we want to have a destructible type, right? And so things that are destructible, it says, okay, well, when they're destroyed, what do you replace them with? But in thinking of making it as simple as possible, let us add in here our trigger. All right, so our enemy ship has a trigger. And if we get hit by a laser, we blow up. We blow up. So we'll have an on hit by laser. Oh, that's kind of nice. I did make this in a smart way. Smart-ish way. Private void on laser hit. Laser controller. Laser. What are you in trying to resolve an issue where some of my app pages load in with a 5-second delay? Is this like a web app? What type of app are you making, Formal Goose? On laser hit. For now, we just destroy this.game object. All right, and then we're gonna add in sort of like this enemy spawner that sort of says, okay, well, we're gonna pick a new enemy or a new wave of enemies, something like that. That's a .NET. So Matt, so let me understand. And so again, I'm not new. I'm pretty new to .NET stuff. I've done stuff with Blazor, WebAssembly, which has been really cool. Maui is like the new framework for building like cross-platform, right? So you can do web and mobile and desktop all in one. Is that true? All right, so we can destroy that. Ooh, when we hit it, our laser also needs to get destroyed. Yeah, so I've heard a little bit about it. Cool. I should look into it more. Anymore, I usually just build, so that would be nice for building apps. Anymore, I just sort of build web apps and then try and make them work on mobile. All right, we can destroy enemies. So now let's make this a prefab. It's hard. It's so hard. Yeah, absolutely. So I changed schools this last year, but the school I was working at before, I had students doing they built a lot of cool things. So one of them built a the school's parking app. So students are assigned stuff through the parking app. So they built the project for the school. It has like a web page, a web portal for admin and stuff. They can assign students parking, and then also the GPS throughout the school. And So it also has parking, but it also has navigation. So when parents come, you say, "Oh, download the app for the conferences," and it tells you where to walk. It's some of my students, and I can't take all the credit, had done some amazing stuff. But it's kind of, when you have students from sixth grade through 12th grade, so you get them for 6 years. They start programming in sixth grade, and you get to have them do programming stuff almost year round for 6 years. They're able to do some amazing stuff. All right, so we got our enemy ship, and now we got to make an enemy spawner. All right. Create empty enemy spawner. Yeah. So enemy spawner. Enemy spawner. What do I want to do here? You gotta add a script to it for sure. Oh, this is interesting. This thing, does it still have... No, it doesn't have the waypoints. Yeah, it doesn't have the waypoints. So we got to do something clever here with the waypoints. Where when we need to be able to have our enemy spawner give it the waypoints. Everything else should work out of the gate, though. So we're going to add a script here. New script. Enemy spawn. All right. All right, and I'm gonna take a quick break here. I'm out of tea. I'm gonna get myself a little more tea, but I'll be back in give me 2 minutes. Formal Goose, thank you so much for the follow. I'll be back in hopefully under a minute or two. All right, we're back. Got some green tea with just a hint of honey, just a small hint of honey, little dab of lemon. So I lied. It not getting coffee, getting tea. The screen is incorrect. But we're back. Let's we're making an enemy spawner. That's right. Honeycomb, Deadman Fingers, rum. Gotcha. To each their own, right? Right. Do. Building. Come on, baby. There it goes. All right. Enemy spawner. Something else I dislike about Unity is and I'm falling right into this trap is namespaces. People tend to write their you're like encouraged not to use namespaces for whatever reason. It's just not a good idea. And here I am not using namespaces. Okay. Enemy spawner is gonna work a lot like our asteroid spawner, but it's gonna spawn under certain conditions. So it's not just gonna spawn new enemies all the time. It's gonna wait for an enemy to be destroyed, and then it will spawn a new one. So if the enemy gets destroyed, it'll spawn a new one. It'll like randomly generate a new enemy and have like waypoints it can go to. Kind of like that idea is, yeah. So we'll do that real quick. I'll come in here and say public float spawn rate. And this is going to be like how long we wait when the condition is met for it to actually do a spawn. That'll wait 3 seconds before it spawns. So you destroy the enemy, it'll wait 3 seconds and spawn a new enemy. We're going to have this idea of an enemy count. So it will only spawn enemies if there are, I guess, no enemies. So like the idea is this thing's gonna spawn like waves or something like that. Field, serialized field. So we have a spawn rate. We're gonna give it a list. A list of enemy ships. So these are the types of ships that could spawn. Possible enemies. So you can potentially have different types of enemies. And this will be a get private set. What did I do there? Close this down. We need a list of enemies on the screen. Interesting. I hadn't thought about this. This is a little tricky. So the formal goose, have you used Unity much? So the problem with using iSpaceship like that is yeah, so this is why like Unity doesn't encourage like particularly good programming practices. I want to be able to do the following in my enemy spawner here. I want to be able to go over here and just drag my enemy ships into this thing, right? Say, oh well, this thing can have things of type I, enemy type. But if I do that, it won't be aware of what those are. So the things that will show up over here happen to be, and maybe there's a way I can do it, and I think I can technically. I think I've done it in the past, but you have to jump through some hoops to make it work with the Unity framework. So the idea here, they're like, oh well, possible enemy is going to be this thing. So kind of, we have in Unity, we don't have the objects are composites, not inheritance. So the idea is I have a game shop object that has an enemy ship controller. It isn't an enemy ship. It has an enemy ship controller. And so it doesn't inherit from enemy ship controller. It's that it has one attached to it and it uses that thing. So it's a little bit different way to think about it than, you know, how I would traditionally think about, you know, in object-oriented programming, putting together an interface. But yeah, I'm gonna put this enemy ship here. But I can subclass, I can have different types of enemy ship controllers. So the idea is I could subclass enemy ship controller and inherit all of those things. And I could have an interface on enemy ship controller called iEnemyShip. That then I can use it, but in this enemy spawner, I couldn't say iEnemyShip. That's the, you know, an annoying little thing that, yeah, it's an annoying little thing here. Which is annoying. And I could be wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong. So let's write a we're gonna write a method on this. So our game controller is going to invoke a method on our spawner that is going to spawn. So public void spawn enemies, and this is going to take in an int amount. So this is the number of enemies we're going to spawn, as well as a list exactly. So formal goose, that's why I was like, well, I don't want, you know, for my students, I don't want to deal with that. I've done it before. I have a whole adding, yeah, it's not straightforward, and that's annoying. So you have to like program what does the UI piece for it look like, and it's not straightforward. So it's really quite annoying. But I want to be able to use a prefab for it. That's the thing. So I want to be able to, in my list here, be able to say, oh, well, I'm just going to put my enemy ship in this list. And that is the issue. I won't be able to just drag my enemy ship in there because my enemy ship is a game object. My enemy ship is not a subclass. It has, my enemy ship will have an iEnemy ship, but it won't be an iEnemy ship. Yeah. Trust me, and maybe I shouldn't say trust me. I've gone down a rabbit hole in the past trying to make, this is again one of the things that like is slightly annoying about Unity, is I end up doing things that I don't want to. So it's going to select from these waypoints. So these are the possible enemies. It'll select from these waypoints. So it's going to randomly generate waypoints. Which will be interesting. So our possible enemies, or maybe this will take in a list. Enemy ship controller. Yeah, this is what it is. This will be possible. Ooh, maybe it does that. List of enemy ship enemies. And then it sort of, yeah. So I'm going to spawn these enemies at this rate. So it doesn't spawn them all at once. So it has a spawn rate with them. And rather than this being our possible enemies, it's going to be our enemy queue. And this is actually going to be a queue of enemies like that. And rather than being called spawn enemies, maybe I'll leave it as spawn enemies. For each enemy ship controller, E in enemies, MEQ dot InQ E. Yeah, so our game controller will decide what enemies we're going to do, and then it'll add those into our enemy spawner. Our enemy spawner will have a rate at which it spawns them. Ooh, I like this. This is a nice little thing here. This almost makes it so in the AP Computer Science Principles exam. So what I like, there's something interesting about it. What I like about it, this almost meets the requirements for AP Computer Science Principles exam. You need to have a method that has like a loop that is important. Vivax, thank you so much for the follow. I'm glad you are enjoying it. I'm glad you've decided to stick with it. In queue enemies. This feels a little dumb, but and in fact, this should probably just be a private thing. If I do this, does it still show up in the editor? This would be cool. I don't even know if queues can show up in the editor. I'm really curious now. Private. Will my spawn rate show up in the editor? But yeah, Formal Goose, I appreciate all the backseat, what do you call it? Backseat coding. I do like it. That's annoying. It won't show up if we use it as an actual queue. Queues don't show up in Unity editor, so we're just gonna do a list here. I kinda hate this. Because you can't see the queue. And we'll just make it a list. I want my students to be able to see it in the editor like this. And so we're going to actually just remove the first, like spawn it, remove the first element, even though it's not particularly efficient. We'll have a private float last spawn at oh, this is even better. I love this. I'm loving this. I can make these things private if I really want them to. Nice little thing to do. 0 field 0 that's field, and when we start, this will be last spawn at equals time dot. Okay, and then void update. We're gonna say if last spawn at plus spawn rate time dot time greater than. And I should find a way to like abstract this. We've written this several times now. We need like a timer. A timer with like an action. Is there a timer built into Unity? I think I double checked this already. Extension method would be nice. No, there's no timer. What I should do is I should write a thing called a timer that you can attach an action to, where it says, okay, I'm gonna just call this method, and you can tell how often you want to fire that thing. This is good practice for my students, though, making them rewrite this multiple times. I know it's rewriting that code, but remembering this code, this is a good thing. Or not, I don't know. I'm not good at everything. Invoke repeating, I like that. So you got to be careful, I think, with stuff like that. So in you can't use C# threads in Unity. Is there? All right, so action A. Oh, is there no action system? I'm assuming that you say game object.invoke. Are you suggesting creating a method called invoke repeating, or there is a method called that already? Spawn next. Mono behavior. So it would be this. Wow. I've never knew that was a thing. Thank you so much for that. Even better. So when this thing starts, oh, thank you. Invoke repeating. Method name. Oh, gross. Spawn next. Look how that's horrible. I don't know if I want to use that. Oh. Invoke the method name in time segment repeatedly every spawn rate. So one thing is if our spawn rate changes, this won't like that. There's like no way to cancel it, maybe. Oh, this is, how do you feel about this formal goose, that we give it the name A string name of the method to do. Oh, that's better. That's better, yeah. And it has to be a method that takes no arguments. Right, that's true. That's true. So one thing that I don't like is if our spawn rate changes, it doesn't update here, but I guess that's kind of okay. There's no way to cancel this as far as I can tell. Missed cancel invoke. Looks like you could do cancel invoke. I'd be curious to do look into cancel invoke. Spawn next is gonna say, so we actually don't need last spawn at. If enemy queue dot count is greater than 0, the enemy ship controller to spawn. Here's an interesting thing though. This is sort of our template. To spawn, we'll leave this here. I think this will be okay. New enemy equals instantiate enemy queue at 0, and then enemy queue dot remove at 0. I hate this because this is super slow. If our queue is big, this is like bad. Does it have a pop method? Enemy queue dot pop? No. New enemy. Yeah, we need this. We need an idea here. Okay. All right. Formal Goose. We have an opportunity to do an interface here now. An interface is enemy ship. Because it's gonna have the properties of the ship that we want. So we have a good spot for it now. So it's like enemy ship blueprint. So this is the idea here. So public interface enemy ship. Okay. And this thing is gonna have a property which is our enemy ship controller. Hang on, why is this template? And then we also need to have our list of, and this should be a get. We need to be able to get that public enemy list of transform waypoints, and then public vector 2 spawn point. All right, so we need you. You had this. You had this. We want our spawner to take in an eye enemy ship. What's going on with my autocomplete? Look at how amazing that looks. What is this error here? What's going on? Did I not put a .cs at the end of I enemy ship? Where is this file? Oh, I'm not importing. Possibly song requests. So it has to be royalty free. It has to be a non-copyrighted, royalty-free song. But if you have a non-copyrighted, royalty-free song, yes, you can. So normally I just listen to have a playlist here on Spotify. Maybe I can share the playlist with you and we can add things to it. But Stream Beats by Harris Heller is all royalty-free, copyright-free music that I can. Oh, right, wrong thing there. That I'm allowed to use. I wish I could just do whatever music I wanted. I'd be happy to. But yeah. What's your request? What is the what's the song? All right, enemy ship. Yeah, link it to me or give me the name. I'll look it up. I just don't want to get a copyright strike. I don't think I'm allowed to. Well, we can try. We can try it. We can try it. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure mashups. I'm not allowed to do that. But yeah, send it to me. Licenses. Let's see. Yeah, I can't. So I'm looking. They have a license here listed on this particular song that I would have to. I'm not allowed to play this on my stream. Sorry, my friend. Them's the rules. Them's the rules. Yeah, so if I scroll down here in this video, music, YouTube has already, gone through and said, oh, hey, we know what song this have, and it's Water Tower Music. So, it's not a copyright-free song, so I can't, unfortunately, not allowed to play it. Yeah, I know. I could listen to it, but I can't have the stream have it on there. Otherwise, my my videos get deleted. I could listen, I think, to up to 15 seconds before it becomes like copyright strikeable. Yeah, it's weird rules. It's not like I'm making money or anything, right? But I think technically both Twitch and YouTube, when they play it, have to pay a royalty for it or something. I don't know the exact details. All right, so we have an enemy ship enemy, and it's going to come from our enemy queue, and then we remove it, and then our new enemy is our enemy template dot here, and then new enemy and in fact, I think my enemy ship controller will have a static spawn method. Yeah. Public static. Put this at the end. Static methods go at the end, I think. But it'll be public, so it's before private stuff. Yeah. Public static enemy ship controller spawn. This will take in an enemy ship template. And then this becomes new enemy dot waypoint equals enemy. What happened here? I didn't actually move anything. Enemy. It's a model view controller. Getting that set up nicely can be painful. So eventually gonna return new enemy here, but new enemy dot waypoints is equal to enemy dot waypoints, and new enemy transform dot position is equal to enemy dot spawn point. Okay. So this is sort of our nice way to do this. Quote unquote nice way. We'll see if it's a nice way. But we almost have our enemy spawner working. We've been noodling around in our brain a little bit in the mind's eye. So we should now do enemy ship controller dot spawn enemy, and that'll spawn it into existence. And now our game controller needs to be able to have a reference to our enemy spawner, those others. All right, so our game controller has an enemy spawner. Field, serialized field, public, enemy spawner. Make it private. Enemy spawner, get set. All right, and let's start out. Yeah, we're gonna have possible enemies. It's another. Maybe that does go over here as far as our possible enemies. Field, serialized field, private list, enemy controller, possible enemies. And this is a public private set though. That doesn't matter. Really want sort of this idea of enemy type. Enemy type. And so this is going to have several enemies in it. Got about 10 minutes here, and then I got to hop off. So I really want to get this enemy spawner working before I go. So our enemy spawners here. Enemy types, we just have the one enemy ship. Let's create an enemy spawn point. Enemy spawn. So they'll spawn up here. Oh, so we got to add that into our game controller. Field, serialized field, private, enemy spawn point, transform. Enemy spawn point. This one can be public though. We're so close. We are so close here. All right, so enemy game controller, enemy spawn point. Okay. And at the start of the game, we'll add a couple enemies that we're gonna spawn, and they'll be dumb. They just sort of fly between our waypoints. Let's add a waypoint C, so we can sort of get a triangle pattern. And this enemy will come down here to 2. Yeah, so we can have this sort of flying around in circles there. Let's keep going. Let's keep going here. Let's get our waypoints in our game controller as well. Field, serialized field, public, list, transform, waypoints. So we'll add them in there. Love over on YouTube says, okay. I'm not sure what you're saying okay to, but I agree, it's okay. Let's lock this for a second. Add those in there. So we have A, B, C. So we can use that to sort of generate our things here. Enemy spawner dot in queue enemies. So we got to create these eye enemies now. We'll create a thing called enemy ship. Enemy ship. Enemy ship. Like this. And it will have these as in the constructor: public, enemy ship controller template, equals template, list, transform, waypoints, and vector to spawn point. waypoints. Spawn. Waypoints equals waypoints. Spawn point equals spawn. And we will then instantiate one of these. Enemy ship. Ship equals new enemy ship. I gotta come over here so it'll build for a second so I can actually get that auto-complete, I believe. Ship. Yeah, so that's gonna be my enemy types at 0. You create a new list of waypoints, and this will be our enemy spawn point dot position. Right? We'll get a list of transform waypoint equals new, and we will put inside of this waypoints of 0, waypoints of 1, waypoints of 2. Enemy ship enemy, and enemy spawner dot enqueue enemies. I should take this lists of enemy ship enemies equals new. We'll have it spawn our enemy. Okay. Enemies like that. I think we can get it spawn a couple. Whew. A lot of I don't know, mental gymnastics is the right word, but a lot of things going on there. All right, we got 1, 2 enemies, 3 enemies, and then our queue is empty. So if I were to go look at my enemy spawner, unlock this. It's, oh, we can't even see it anyway. Anyway, but now we're able to spawn enemies in there. Sweet. Okay, so our enemy spawner seems to be working. We could even get a couple different types of enemies. So in fact, what I could do, oh, I got something on my face there. Do this enemy. Yeah. And then switch up the waypoint a little bit. Waypoints 2. Waypoints 3. Waypoints 3. So like we could build up a, you know, the wave. We have a wave of enemies coming in this way. Let's have one go 2, 1, 0. So it'll go backwards. And then we'll have one that goes 1, 0, 2, 1. So this one will go like, this one will go, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. Back to waypoint 2. So now it should go like, make a V back and forth. Let's try it. Let's try it. And now we can just add a bunch of waypoints to our screen, and then we can sort of define our different types of enemies. All right, not bad, not bad. Okay, we are just about out of time. I'm gonna go ahead and commit what I've done here. I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy. We made some good progress today. We got enemies on the screen. We've got asteroids. We added in a lot of good stuff. Silverano, thank you for the follow. I hope this has been enjoyable for you. And we'll probably be back at it tomorrow. So work in progress. Continue working on prototype. We added all sorts of stuff today. Added damage boost flicker. We added, what else did we add? We added enemy ship / laser. Added enemy spawner. Yeah. Plus some other stuff. That's essentially what we added. Excuse me there. So we feeling pretty good about this. So if you're still watching, thank you so much for watching. If you want to be notified when I'm coming back, feel free to hit follow. I'll be back tomorrow early Arizona time for Advent of Code Day 23. We're getting close. We got 3 days left. But thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. It's been fun. It's been really, really fun. And as always, keep coding, keep growing, and looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.